Spencer Gallup, how are you, sir?
What's up? What's going on?
Welcome back,
Happy
everybody,
day.
here to the Scoop and Score Football Show, episode 30, 30. Brought to you by Ball N Beatz Media. We just had the NFL draft. It has come and gone.
Yep.
We were down there in the beloved city of Bridges in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Before we get into kind of recapping that weekend, how did we feel about Pittsburgh?
I thought it was a beautiful city. The people were super nice down there. We talked to a lot of Steelers fans, a lot of different fans from NFL teams, but obviously mainly Steelers fans. They were very nice. That accent is very heavy down there in Western
Very
Pennsylvania.
heavy. Very.
Um, but overall, I had a really enjoyable time. The city was beautiful. There was a lot of stuff to do down there. Never really had any issues with anybody. People were very nice down there. And even with you being a Browns fan and us, with AJ being a Bengals fan, with the North, they were nice. They were civil. They, threw a few jabs at you, but it was all fun and games. And it was really fun down there. They had a lot of stuff to do. Being inside the stadium at Acrisure or Heinz, if you want to still call it that. Um, it was a really cool experience overall. They did a really good job with it. Night one was a blast. Night one was
Yes.
awesome, and night two was cool too. I mean, they had Wiz Khalifa and Brett Michaels, doing that, um, doing the concert. But overall, I had a really fun time down there. There is a lot, like I said, there's a lot of stuff to do, um, and a lot of people to meet. It was really cool. I had a really good time.
It was really cool. We saw a lot of characters for sure.
Yeah.
100%. My favorite one had to be the Bolt guy, the Chargers dude, because just putting it in context, in April in Pittsburgh, it's similar here to where we are in northern Ohio, where you never know if it's really going to be 85 or if it's going to
Yep.
be, 45 in April. Um, and come to find out, it is 85 degrees. And we're watching this Chargers fan, which was like one of like four there, and the rest of them were
Yeah.
probably NPCs and bought out by the Chargers organization. But this dude, fully, full outfit, head to toe covered, bolt head on top.
All
He
of it.
had to be decked out and sweated. That boy was hot, I know for sure. Then you had Boba Jet. Shout out Boba Jet.
Boba Jet was
We
cool.
talked to
He
Boba
was cool.
Jet a little bit. He wanted Jeremiah Love. He did not get Jeremiah Love, but that's okay. It's all right. They still got a decent haul, I would say. The Jets
Yeah.
did. Um, yeah, Pittsburgh was a lot of fun, and they treated me with a lot of respect. And I've heard the other way. I had a woman who was talking to me who was a Pittsburgh fan when she was in Cleveland and was telling me her story about how the Cleveland fans were very disrespectful, which
That sounds about right.
it's not shocking. I think when it comes to a franchise who does genuinely hate, another team because of their
Yeah.
success that they haven't had. So it makes sense. It does
Yeah.
make sense to have that be the opposite way there.
I would
And
hate the
I
Ravens more than I would
apologize to
hate
her. I'm
the
like, I'm
Steelers.
sorry. I'm sorry that they treated you that mean. Um,
Yeah.
but I have heard that from Pittsburgh fans that Cleveland can be a little more hostile than Pittsburgh actually is, and I will give them their flowers. They were really nice to me, and we were
Yep.
just shooting it up the whole time, having great conversations and getting to meet new people a little, and it was fun. I had a blast, and I had a serious blast watching how Cleveland ended up drafting, and we'll get into that a little bit here. Um,
You would think that you guys would hate Ravens fans more than Steelers fans because, or not like the fans, but the franchise, because like the Ravens were you guys, and then they won Super Bowls after they left.
right.
I was a Browns fan. I mean, I get the Steelers thing and all that. I would hate the Ravens. That'd be number one, and it's not even close. Um,
The problem with
but
that,
I'm
right,
not.
is if you look at the rest of the division, it basically is three Browns teams and the Steelers because the Bengals started after Paul Brown was fired in Cleveland and he
Yep.
started up the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I'm not saying it's different because Art Modell moved the team from Cleveland to Baltimore. That's a whole different story. The hatred there's different. But if you really
Yep.
think about it, the same guy who started the Browns started up the Cincinnati Bengals. So basically everyone's the Browns except Pittsburgh. And so Pittsburgh's the one that's really ran the division. It's like Green Bay in the NFC North. You know what I mean? They just run the
Mhm.
division. and so they're the ones that everyone is going
Mm,
after. You know I'm
I
right.
don't think they run the division anymore,
They run
but
the division. They've always ran the division. It doesn't matter.
they are the last team to not win the North. The farthest is the Packers in 2021. The Vikings won in 22, the Lions won in 23 and 24, and the Bears won it last year.
Well, that
So
might change next season.
they're trying to catch up right now.
That
And
might change next season, and Green Bay might win a Super Bowl next year. But you never know. It
yeah,
might be a little
yeah,
too early, or it might just be
yeah, you're
poking your
funny.
buttons here.
You're hilarious,
Um,
dude. I tell you that. That's a good one.
it's a
That
good
one made
one.
me laugh. That one made
Is
me
it?
laugh.
To be fair, I only saw like 3 Packers fans when we were there. There wasn't too many Packers
Yeah.
fans down in Pittsburgh, PA, but there were a
Didn't see a lot of
lot.
Vikings fans. I saw the one
Yes.
from day two that we, huddled around. We had a whole NFC North thing. We had four, we
Yep.
had all four teams,
Then we
and they had a
basically had
guy
the
take a
AFC
picture
North
of us.
too, all together. We were
Yeah,
all together. We
yeah.
had the Ravens fan who I was ready to choke out, but I'm not. I'm a nice person. I would never really do that, but it's just an impulse feeling. Um, but yeah, I do have to give Pittsburgh its flowers. They handled the whole event with grace. 320,000 plus people night one, 805,000 plus in total for the 3 days. Sets a new record for the
Yep.
NFL draft. They did a great job hosting the event. It's a little crammed, I will say, towards downtown though, because of the way everything's structured there. You have the three rivers, all the bridges around town. You're kind of in a valley of the mountains. That's sort of Appalachia. It's not really Appalachia, but it's considered Appalachia.
Who else going home the
Yeah.
first those 2 nights? I mean, goodness.
Oh, I
We
know.
we were going through the boonies, up and down, and then when we went to the Hall of Fame in Canton on day 3. We decided not to go to day 3. We decided we wanted to go to Canton. When we did that, it was the fact that like it was hills back and forth, and
Oh
then you're
yeah.
going through these towns, and I'm like, God, I feel like I'm gonna, get
Yes.
mugged here or
You
something like
need a
that.
serious four-wheeler to drive up
Um,
some of these
but
mountains
yeah,
here.
it was a blast. We saw like almost all NFL fans. I gotta tell you, I don't think I saw a single Houston Texans fan.
I saw one.
I did. I must have
I
not seen
saw
him because
one
I
Texans
didn't see
person.
him. I think I saw one Dolphins fan there. Um,
There was a
we
couple
saw
here
that
and there.
one Rams fan
The
that was
Rams
next to
fan, that
us
was right next
and
to us for
on
the
day
Ty
one.
Simpson pick that we will talk
Yep.
about.
Yeah. We didn't find a Cardinals fan until day 2. We didn't see one on day 1. Um, but yeah, I mean, a lot of NFL teams represented. Obviously, the Steelers were number 1. It's in the city. A lot of Giants fans. There's a lot of New York Giants
We
fans,
had that
Jets
whole
fans.
group of
So a
kids
good
we were
amount of
talking
those.
about. They came from Columbus. All Ohio
Yep.
State students happened to all be Giants fans. Literally like 10 to 15 of them. They were all
Yep.
together. It was kind of
Yep,
insane.
all from OSU.
I don't know how you
Ohio
could
State,
I don't know how you
like
could
a lot
find
of
that,
Buckeyes, which was great. I mean, we had all the
right?
Buckeyes go in the top 11, which is probably my favorite part of the draft. Was seeing those guys get drafted in the top 11. You had 3 defensive Buckeyes get taken
Yeah.
in the first 11 picks of the NFL draft, which is unforeseen. Um, and will be something that is really, really cool and something they can have as bulletin board material in Columbus. Um, but it was a really cool experience overall. Detroit will always be near and dear because that's my team, that's my city. But Pittsburgh was a great, great time. All the props to them. Although the prices for them hot dogs and stuff were ridiculous. I paid $27 for 2 hot dogs, a thing of
Ugh.
chips, and
So
a
Pittsburgh did it right
Gatorade.
then. Pittsburgh did it right for only
Oh
18
my,
to
bro.
$20.
$8 hot dogs. I mean,
Yes.
goodness. It
Nothing beats
was a solid hot
$25.
dog, but I will never pay $8. That's not even ballpark
No.
prices. That's just like,
There's nothing
but
better than $25 chicken tenders and fries for sure. That's the
yeah,
best more than anything else. Um,
$50 draft hats.
See, I got mine online before even going. I got mine online, saved a little
Yep.
bit of money, $40, it's whatever. I'm a draft hat connoisseur. I think I've gotten the last like 6 or 7.
Ha 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 ha, ha,
Anyway,
funny.
anyway, we're too old to be doing this. Let's move on here and let's talk a little bit about the actual NFL draft itself. Some winners, some losers from the 3 days. We have to start out with the teams that I thought won the draft. The way it's not just, by the way, oh, we think they just got the best players. This is how they manipulated the
Who's number
board.
1? Who's your number 1 winner?
My number one winner, it's a toss up between two teams. So it's really 1A and 1B in my opinion. The Cleveland Browns have to be, and it's no bias. It's really not any bias. They've made 6 trades throughout the draft. They somehow got two 2027 picks for next year in a draft class that one, no one wanted to give up their picks, but two, as well, that draft class on paper, I know people, they say this every year, but it
They
seems
say this
pretty
every year.
realistic for next year. That draft class seems pretty filled with depth at all
Yeah,
positions, not just quarterback. I know a lot of people want to talk about quarterbacks. I think the running back class is very good for next year. That wide receiver class
same here.
obviously will have Jeremiah Smith, Cam Coleman, possibly Nick Marsh or some others, depending on how the season goes.
Yep.
The defensive line, Colin Simmons, Dylan Stewart stand out amongst the rest. Of course, there's other guys out there. David Stone, defensive tackle from Oklahoma, is a guy to watch heading into
Jordan
next year.
Seaton, the
Jordan
tackle.
Seaton, the offensive tackle at LSU. There's a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys in next year's draft class. The fact that Cleveland somehow got 2 picks to use for next year was maybe
Were they
one of their best things.
what round were they?
2 fourth-round picks.
Oh, well, that's not bad.
2 middle of the pack ones that even if you wanted to use to possibly move up in that draft class or move around to get some other talent, Andrew
Yeah,
Berry's done really well in the offseason the last couple years at doing so. But it starts at pick 6. They trade back to pick 9 with Kansas City. Kansas City
you
moves
called
up
it.
for Mansour Delane. Yep. You called it. You called
You
it.
you called
I
you
called
called
it.
them trading back. I think
I
the
did.
Chiefs trading up to get Mansour Delane was that was. I don't know if they really had to trade up to 6 to get him, but they
Mm.
got their guy no matter what. So that's all that matters to them. And the Browns got what an extra third round pick in the draft for it or something like that.
Extra third round pick in the draft, and they draft a guy that they were more than likely going to take at 6 overall. In
Yep.
Spencer Fano, the Utah right tackle, had been left tackle in his past, the most versatile offensive lineman in the draft. And I'd been saying for a while if they did go offensive line first, although I was trying to mock, of course, my beloved Jordan Tyson to Cleveland, maybe a little bias on my end because I wanted Jordan Tyson. But if they were going offensive line first at pick 6, obviously they traded back to pick 9. That seemed to be the direction it was going to be with Spencer Fano. The last couple weeks, that's what it sounded like coming out of Cleveland. That was the guy they wanted, and they got him at 9. And then from there, at pick 24, I'm still not as high on this pick as I was just going into everything, getting KC Concepcion, the Texas A&M wide receiver. I am higher on other wide receivers in the draft class. Denzel Boston, one to throw out there. Oh wait, they got him at pick 39.
Yep.
Somehow got him at pick 39. That's when I felt like, okay, Cleveland's really done very well already in this draft because the fact that Denzel Boston was available at pick 39
A lot of
kind of
guys fell
shocked
in this
me.
draft, especially the guy you got in an E-Man. E-Man fell all the way to what was it, 59,
58.
58? Yeah,
58.
58.
Cleveland
Neither
traded
of
up
us
12
thought that
spots
was
for that.
even close to being possible.
Exactly.
Because we thought, I mean, hell, we had him in the first round in a couple of our mocks when we took him, but we at least said like probably early,
Early
no
second.
later than mid second round,
Right.
and he fell to the very late. There was a point to where we thought he might fall out of the second round because the Eagles drafted Eli Stowers and a point to where we thought it would have been perfect for them to draft E-Man to pin or to
Right. In
team with Quinion.
Pittsburgh at what, pick 41, pick 42 in the second round, they had him available on the board as well. And I know a lot of Pittsburgh people around us wanted E-Man. It's not necessarily a massive position of need, but they definitely could have utilized maybe one more safety on
Yeah,
their team. And
yeah,
they went with Jeremy Bernard after the night one fiasco with Philadelphia trading up ahead of them to get Makai Lemon.
yeah.
And somehow, I still think Pittsburgh had a pretty good draft. I'll talk about it a little bit more. Um, the fact that they got Max Ihanachor, the Arizona State left tackle, who was my guy throughout this entire process. He's one of my favorite prospects in this entire class. I think he could end up being arguably the best offensive lineman down the road. And I love that pick for them. And I love Jeremy Bernard. He's the most boring wide receiver in the best way possible. And so getting those 2 players, I think, kind of makes up for the night one fiasco for Pittsburgh there. I don't know about Drew Aller, though. I don't know about Drew Aller. However, we'll
No,
let that slide. We'll let that slide.
Drew
But
Haller is terrible.
the way Cleveland handled this draft and really last year's draft, I don't think any team has done it better than them the last 2 years. They got probably some of their best guys on their board through their first 4 picks. I can't believe that they got the 4 guys they did. Um, I really wanted Denzel Boston at 24, and the fact that they got both wide receivers makes me feel better about the KC Concepcion pick, because if they got just KC Concepcion at wide receiver, I would have more questions because they would still need that outside guy. The fact that they got both of them, I feel a little bit more convinced of Casey Concepcion being able to pan out with Cleveland, having him be inside that slot receiver. And then you have Jerry Judy as I'd probably put him at the Z, and then I'd probably have Denzel Boston as your true outside wide receiver at the X receiver. Um, I think Denzel Boston's going to be a unit. He kept climbing up my draft board even after I posted my wide receiver board and my top 100 prospect board. Denzel Boston kept climbing up it. I love him a lot, and the fact that Cleveland got him in the second round made me very excited. And honestly, I think the way they drafted at the back half, I really like Joe Royer, the Cincinnati tight end. You were going to need another tight end because David Njoku is not going to be back in Cleveland. And obviously, we saw how good Harold Fandon Jr. is and will continue to get. They needed another tight end, and they drafted him, and they drafted Carson Ryan with their last pick out of BYU, who was a sneaky good tight end as well. I think Cleveland absolutely nailed it. I really do. Now, obviously, it has to pan out on the football field. And I know what everyone says, oh, Cleveland always wins the draft. They say that every year. I mean, did
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did
yeah,
they did they say that when
kind
they
of.
drafted Barkevius Mingo? I don't think so.
All right,
Did
bro.
they
That
say
was
that when they
like this.
drafted Justin Gilbert? I don't think so. Did they say that when they
Those-
drafted Corey Coleman? I don't think so. I'm
Dog,
just
we're talking.
saying.
That's over a decade ago.
But the guys that Cleveland's gotten
No,
have panned
I
out. They've actually panned out to
completely
be good
agree with you.
players.
I think the Browns had a great draft. I think the Browns had one of the better drafts of any team. I mean, they got positions of need. They needed a tackle. They needed help on the O line. I think Spencer Fon was going to help with that. Their wide receiver core was a bunch of garbage cans. They were awful, one of the worst in the league. And they got two really solid receivers that are young and are going to learn. Denzel Boston, I think, is better than Casey Concepcion, but who knows? Maybe Concepcion turns out to be a solid wide receiver too. Hell, he might even be the best receiver on your team. You don't know.
Right.
And on the football field. I really like the E-Man pick. I know with us going to Toledo, it was great. He's gonna be a starting safety for the Browns. He's gonna be helping out that defense. I like the picks the Browns had. I'm not saying anything against it. My concern the Browns is the most important position is still the worst on the field. They don't have a quarterback. They don't. So who's going to throw the ball to Concepcion? Who's going to throw the ball to Denzel
It's a good
Boston?
question. It is a
So,
very good
but
question.
for positional value of where they were in the draft, the Browns knocked it out of the park. Getting E-Man at 58, getting Boston at 39, and then at 24, getting Concepcion. That's probably about where he was going to be. Either that
Right.
or early sex. I'm not going to say that's really positional value because that's kind of where he was. But their second round could be. My football team in 2023, their first 4 picks turned out to be all pros. They got Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. They got Jack Campbell at 18, both all pro level players at their positions. And then they got Brian Branch and Sam Laporta in the second round, who turned out to be studs.
Right.
Brian Branch, an all pro, Sam Laporta, a pro bowler. They've gotten great players. And I think this could be it for the Browns. Quarterback's going to be the biggest thing. And that's going to be what holds the Browns back this year. And why I can't pick them to do anything next year is because I do sure as hell do not trust Deshaun Watson anymore. And Shador Sanders, while young and showed some promise and was a Pro Bowler last year, he turns the ball over, he gets, quick feeded, and he rushes his throws. So I need to see that. But roster wise, the Browns have a fantastic young roster to build around, not including quarterback. Their offensive line is going to be good. Their tight end core, I think Harold Fandon Jr. is going to take a step. I think at running back, Quinshon Judkins, I think is an average running back. Maybe he can take a little step. I don't know if he's great, but I think he can be good.
He was the
And I
best
think he
rookies
will
when
be
he was
good.
on the field out of all the rookie running backs last year. Him and I think Dylan Sampson could really finally
I
become the running back
Yeah.
too as well.
No, 100%. I think he's going to be a solid to good running back in this league. And I think that's you can't ask for more when you drafted him in the second round, right? Wasn't it the
Right.
second round?
Yep.
And defensive wise, your safety room, you got E-Man down there. I think my biggest concern with that defense, obviously defensive coordinator leading in Jim Schwartz. The D line, I have no doubts about. That's the D line's going to be good again. You got Miles Garrett and Mason Graham. Don't have an issue with that. Um, Linebacker could be something to watch out for, opposite of Schlesinger. And then their cornerback room. Denzel Ward is not healthy all the time, and they just got rid of Emerson. So my whole thing is the Browns have built a good young roster that are going to have players grow. I completely agree with that. And maybe next year, next year's draft, if the Browns suck again and they get one of these top quarterbacks, they could be a team I would watch out for to finally take that step, to finally get there. But I do like what the Browns are doing. I
Yeah,
think that Andrew Berry came into this draft knowing he had needs, knowing his team needed help on the O-line, knowing they needed a wide receiver core. And that's the whole reason why he had back-to-back valuable picks as wide receivers. Casey Concepcion in the first round and Denzel Boston in the second. Those are high-value picks because it's a late first and an early second.
right.
And then you trade up to go get E-Man, who is just falling off the board. And I think that's going to be a good value pick. Whether he works out or not, whether these players work out or not, that was a good draft. They had a very good draft. I love what they did in their first four picks. You can talk about their later round picks, if they're going to be starters or if they're going to have a big role. But I do like what the Browns did. And I think there is something to be said about getting a young nucleus of players because the Browns had a really good draft last year. And then it turned out on the field, they did. And then now we think that they had a good draft this year. If it turns out on the field they did, that's back-to-back years of drafts to where you are getting core pieces of young players to add to your team.
Yeah,
And they are making a big impact on your roster. And that's something to be said that Andrew Berry's gotten flack from Browns fans and he's gotten flack from people. I think he's done a good job with what he's got.
I
I think Andrew
agree.
Berry is one of the most like overhated GMs in the NFL because he has
100%.
drafted decently. He's drafted pretty well. I mean, he's gotten some guys. Has he made some mistakes? Sure, every GM does.
Hmm.
And the Deshaun Watson thing, I think everybody thinks that was a Haslam move. That was 100% the owner saying we need to step in and do this. And Barry was kind of the fall guy. He was basically taking the straight for having to trade those 3 first-round picks.
I agree. I fully agree with you. And you can go back to his early days when he first got to Cleveland as the general manager. He had the JOK draft where he got him in the second round and Greg
Yeah.
Newsome in the first.
And he
Newsome,
turned out to be really good. It just
yeah.
injuries derailed his career.
And then if you look at Greg Newsome, he was still a pretty solid corner too. He just, they needed to upgrade eventually down the road, and they did, trading for Jason Campbell. Greg Newsome, maybe he can find his home now in New York. He's with the Giants this offseason now. But he was still a very good player when they got him in the late 20s there. Um, and he drafted Grant Delpit in the second round as well.
Yep.
Obviously, the Jedrick Wills pick, I don't necessarily, that pick wasn't the greatest. And I think he learned from that pick where you've got a guy who's already played left and right tackle. You've seen that he's elite at both in Spencer Fano. So, to anyone who's worried about this one's a completely different player. Completely different situation with Spencer Fano than it is with Jedrick Wills. Fano is one of the best offensive linemen in this draft for a reason,
Yep.
and it was a good pick at pick 9.
Yeah. So yeah, we talked about the Browns having.
Yeah.
Listen, I know you said you have a 1B, and I don't know if it's this team or not. I thought the Raiders had a fantastic draft, and I know that obviously Mendoza is a reason why because they got their quarterback, and I think their roster construction has actually been pretty decent.
Mm-hmm.
Wide receivers, the one that I'm a bit iffy on, but I love their core players that they have. I like that they got Traden Stukes in the second round. I think he was a guy that we talked about maybe being, late first, maybe early second, and he ended up going in the early second.
Yep.
And they got Jermod McCoy in the fourth. And I know, yeah, injury. What if it works out? What if he comes into camp and his knee
Right.
feels completely better?
Yeah.
This dude was a first round talent. They got him in the fourth. He could end up being the biggest steal in the draft.
Honestly, their
People
fourth round is the best fourth round because they got him. And I know I threw this analogy out there already before.
Mike Washington Jr.
Getting Mike
Yeah.
Washington Jr., my running back 2 in the draft, those two together with Genty and Mike Washington Jr.,
Good, really good.
that could be a really good duo in the next couple years. Could be one of the best in the league if that offensive line, which is
Yeah.
kind of revamped a little bit this offseason, who knows how good the Raiders can be right away. I'm so
They added
serious
Trey
about this.
Zune from Texas A&M, and I know he's a center, but they'll probably move
Move
him
him
to
to
guard.
guard. Yeah, I agree. They'll probably put him at like left or right guard because you're moving Jackson Powers Johnson already over to guard with Linderbaum coming in this offseason.
Yeah,
So if Zune can pan out, he was a guy I was really high on more than others. So I think he could be a very good offensive lineman for them moving forward. I agree with you. It's not the team I was thinking though, but they are one of the three teams that I gave an A+ grade to. But
I
my
just think that you got your
yes,
quarterback, you helped your O-line, you got a corner who could end up potentially helping you out immensely, and maybe he doesn't. Maybe this injury was serious, and he turns out that he just flames out. It's a fourth round pick. It's not like it's a second or a third. It's fourth round picks are valuable, but it could have been worse.
right.
And I just think that with what the Raiders have done this offseason with roster construction, I love Clint Kubiak is going to be the coach for Fernando Mendoza,
Yes,
and then they have Kirk Cousins to kind of mentor him. I've made my jokes about Mendoza. I don't think he's going to be a superstar, but I do think he's going to be a good player, a very good player in the NFL.
I
Kirk
agree.
Cousins is kind of like the comp that I know people joke about, but I think it's honestly fair. And I think there's worse things you can be comp to than Kirk Cousins. So
Basically, I think his ceiling is a better version of Kirk, which is basically Matt Ryan.
yeah, he could be a Matt Ryan
He could
with
have
the
that
touch
like
with the
1 year.
touch he has on his passes.
Yeah,
And he can be a little more mobile than Matt Ryan.
for sure.
Mendoza can run the ball. He's not like a mobile quarterback per se, but he can when the defense gives him an opening, he can run it for 5-10 yards.
For sure. He's definitely more athletic than either of them.
Yeah.
Um, you're right though. The Raiders had an exceptional draft. I love their draft a lot. That's not the team I was thinking of, but like I said, one of the three teams that got an A+ grade for me. I kind of went a little bold here because I think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had an absolutely amazing draft in their first 4 rounds. The fact that Reuben Bain Jr. fell to them at 15 to me was, I mean, it's an absolute steal in the first round. The fact that you've got, in my opinion, the best pass rusher at 15th overall. I know the arm concerns. I know about the incident that took place that no one talked about for 2 years and that NFL teams already vetted and kind of realized it's a moot point to talk about. Reuben Bain, or Tampa Bain, as some people will call him now, he's the best pass rusher in this class. He's the most freakish. The fact that that's a steal. That's a steal at 15, in my opinion,
Yeah,
that Tampa Bay got him
100%.
there.
No, I was shocked. Um, we talked about it to where that was his ceiling. He wasn't going to get past Tampa Bay,
Yeah,
and it ended up being that exactly.
right.
He didn't get past Tampa Bay. I had a little hope the Lions, said just to say screw offensive line and just go get Bain. And there was reports that the Lions are trying to trade up to 13. And I think it was for Caden Proctor, which thank God that didn't happen.
Right.
Because I would have gone us taking him, but also taking up and trading with him would have made me go insane. But no, I love that they got Ted Hurst, your like love affair from Georgia Tech, or not Georgia Tech, Georgia
Georgia
State.
State.
They got Keontae Scott, they got
Yep.
Josiah Trotter.
Those
Um,
next three picks right there. I
yeah,
love all three of those picks for Tampa. Those are A+ picks in my opinion. Um, Ted
four
Hurst is the
positions of
new
need too.
yes. Ted Hurst is going to be the next Mike Evans. I'm not saying he's going to be as good as Mike Evans. He's going to be their replacement, and I really like it a lot. I love Ted Hurst in Tampa, but Keontae Scott to me, getting him in the 4th round kind of
Yeah,
shocked me. He was my number
no,
54 overall player. I think it
yeah,
ended up being what, pick 116 they drafted him at. I can't remember. I'm gonna double check here real quick. Yeah, it was 116. Um, the fact they got him there kind of blew my mind a little bit. And they didn't have a lot of picks to work with necessarily, but I think those core four, their first four picks, knocked it out the park. They
yeah,
went and got defensive lineman Demonte Capehart from Clemson with their 5th round pick. He's a decent guy. 5th rounder made a ton of sense. Their last two picks also were kind of around that range. They weren't really reaches. Um, but those first four picks were A+ picks in my opinion. And I know that I am circling other teams in the NFC South to possibly take that next step next year. And I think there's a lot of pressure in Tampa Bay, specifically at the quarterback position.
yep.
Let's see if Egbuka can maybe bounce back next year from how his end of his rookie year ended, I think Tampa Bay nailed this draft out the park. And will they translate in 2026? We'll have to see. But I think that core four could possibly translate into future stars on that Buccaneers team down the road.
I have another one that I really liked. Um, there's one pick on here that I hated that this team took, but their first couple of picks I think are going to fit, and they fit perfectly for this team. I thought Baltimore had a really good draft.
They always do.
Um, I know
Baltimore
that
always
the
does.
one that I hate the Adam Randall pick. I think that was a waste in the 5th round
Uh,
because he was sucked
Well,
at Clemson,
fun
and he's
fact
a
that was the owner's pick.
yeah, and it's the fact that I have a feeling, and they drafted 2 wide receivers. They drafted Jacoby Lane and Elijah Surratt, and those were 2 that I loved. I love both of those guys. But it's also the fact that Adam Randall was really bad at running back. I think
Yes,
maybe he can be like a punt returner or like a wide receiver for them. I really don't think they should use him as a running back. But anyway, I love Vega. The Penn State guard going to Baltimore is just perfect. That's just perfect.
it is. It
It's going
is.
he is such a Baltimore Raven, and he's going to be a beast on that Ravens offensive line. And then Zion Young, the guy that I wanted to the Lions going there in the 2nd round, at the edge rusher from Missouri. Um, I think him I think him and Trey Hendrickson are gonna be a really good duo.
For sure.
Um, I really like what they have. I thought, like I said, Baltimore to me had one of the better drafts of any team.
For
I
sure. They are
really
in that
like what they
category.
did. They always seem to go get players that everybody wants, especially you. Um,
Every time. Every
but I
time.
thought they had a fantastic draft. My favorite's the guard from Penn State, but I really like the Elijah Surratt pick in the 4th round.
I'm shocked the Raiders didn't try and get Elijah Surratt. Maybe they wanted him in the
Yeah,
4th round. They had the first pick of the 4th round. That's why they got Jermod McCoy. I'm shocked because I still think the Raiders, if there's one thing you could talk about a little bit that they need, would be wide receiver.
wide receiver.
But they did
Yep.
draft a guy who I'm high on in the 6th round in Malik Benson, who I think could possibly actually maximize his potential in the NFL. You didn't necessarily see it as much in college when he was at
Yeah.
Oregon, but I think it could pan out possibly in the NFL, and he could be better than that 6th round slot. One more team I really want to highlight here that I thought did great. This team didn't have a 1st round pick. Um, I thought the Indianapolis Colts drafted really
Yeah.
well, given the fact that they did not have a 1st round pick. They had multiple 4th rounders, they had multiple 7th round picks, and the fact that to me their 7th round is what really did it for me. Seth McGowan, the
Yeah.
Kentucky running back, I was higher on than others. He was like number 105 on my board. I originally had him in my top 100 before I finalized my top 100 board. Um, Moved him down a little bit because I just liked Kalen Black too much to not have Kalen Black in my top 100. And then they ended with Deion Burks, the Oklahoma wide receiver, who also was in my top 100. The fact that he got to the 7th round was real shocking. That was one of the shockers to me of the entire draft. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's small and had an injury past a little bit at Oklahoma, but his talent was like late second or early third. This was a guy I had seen mocked in the 2nd round, in the 3rd round by a lot of people heading into the draft.
Yeah.
Seeing him being picked at 254, kind of
Yeah. I like
mind-boggling.
the I thought the Colts had a really good draft too.
But not
I
just
agree.
not just that. They got CJ Allen, who is really, when it comes to the linebackers in this draft,
Captain linebacker
he
from
was
Georgia.
he was the like true like leader of a defense. Like Anthony Hill didn't have necessarily the green dot on him at Texas. CJ Allen was a team captain at Georgia and was the green dot at Georgia.
He's
He was the
also
one
a
calling all the plays.
Georgia linebacker. More times than not, he'll
Right.
be pretty good in the league.
And AJ Halsey, the LSU safety in the 3rd round. That's a very good pick there.
The guy that I was circling that was maybe up for the Lions in the
Potential.
2nd,
Yeah.
and then he fell to 3rd. Yeah, no, I agree. The Colts had a really good. Their defense is going to be better next year. I really think that.
Bryce Betcher as well from Oregon, the linebacker, drafted in the 4th round, which was around his range. A guy who, as well, I think could really maximize his potential in the NFL, who was a very, very big point of emphasis on that Oregon defense.
Yeah,
I don't know about Caden Curry getting drafted, to be honest, even as a Buckeye
the
fan.
hatred for this man.
I don't have a hatred for Caden Curry. It's just that if we're talking real T-Rex arms, he is the purest definition because he actually has the shortest arms ever measured in NFL combine history for a defensive end. So
Well, him and JT can,
they
be the
love their
Buckeye
Ohio
rushers.
State defensive ends.
Yep,
They really do. I bet next year they're going to get Kenyatta Jackson Jr. in the first round. I'm almost booking it at this point. If they have a first round pick, I'm not even certain they do. I'd have to look
they
again.
don't because they traded
That's
that for
right.
Sauce.
That's right. That's right. Um,
Uh, but yeah, no, I agree. I think the Colts had a really good draft. Um, do we want to get to the losers?
two teams that you have questions about with their draft.
San Francisco's got to be number one or at least number two. The Niners, to me, like they had the first pick of the second round, and I know you said this guy was driving up. I had no idea who this dude was. I'm gonna
Oh,
be
Dejuan
completely honest.
Stribling, the wide receiver they
Devon
took at
Stribling.
33.
I looked at that and I said, "What?" Because like the talent that was available in the second round was really good. There was a lot of guys who fell out of the first,
Yes.
and that's your decision coming out of the second round. I mean,
So,
it's not, and who knows? It might work out. And Romelio Height, the guy from Texas Tech, fine. But the 49ers are that team, like, man, they like reach or they just go and they get the guy that they want, but it's not always the guy that's projected where he's supposed to be.
no, yeah, they don't.
Um,
Well, the thing is,
I
there's
don't mind the
teams,
Kalen
right?
Black pick. That's the one that I could say. Like, I actually liked Kalen Black from Indiana.
Yeah.
Um,
And the
he made a
funniest
lot
thing
of
is,
really good.
the funniest thing, Spencer, you and I both love that pick, and that's the one most people are like, what? Like, that's the
Kalen
one that
Black,
they're
yeah, no,
circling
I,
as
I thought he was,
questioning.
I thought he was a workhorse at Indiana.
I agree. He was my sixth best running back in this draft. I'm very high on that pick. I thought that was a very good pick. Um, but Dejuan Stribling, that the receiver, his comp coming out is Jawan Jennings. So
So they, that's funny.
that's partially, I think, the reason why you kind of think about, okay, what kind of wide receiver do they really want here? His is he's comping basically their best wide receiver the last 2 years who's actually playing football. So it makes too much sense for them to go and get their next Jawan Jennings. Why not?
Yeah, I guess,
Um,
but
I like
for
the
the four,
Romelo Height pick. I liked him. He was a top 100 guy. It may have been a little too early for him, but
yeah, I mean, the 49ers seem to reach and make the weirdest, picks, but they always seem to work out for them. So I'm sure, I'm sure that Stribling will end up being wide receiver 5 in the NFL soon. Um, Another one, we mentioned it earlier. I feel like it's got to be Arizona, just because I feel like they had so many other needs that they could have gone. Jeremiah Love, I think, is going to be a very good running back. But with you already having Tyler Algier and James Conner, and you have so many other needs, especially on the O line, and that defense is reeling, man. Like
yes.
Arvell Reese, even Sonny Styles, like even drafting a linebacker would have been better here. And it's not that I don't like Jeremiah Love. Let me be clear. I think I love Love. I think he's going to be a very good
We all
running back.
love Love around here.
And I thought them playing, what was it, Love Me, when he was walking out on stage
Yes,
was
yes, that that was
such a cool
elite. That
moment.
was one of the best moments of the entire draft. Just
Um,
the crowd reaction when they said it was Jeremiah Love at 3 was the best crowd reaction of all night.
Ty Simpson. No.
Ty Simpson was close.
Ty
Ty
Simpson.
Simpson was
People were
close.
shocked.
I
Um,
thought it was the loudest, I guess, for the Jeremiah Love pick at 3. Yeah, there was, I guess, more shock for the Ty Simpson. Maybe even Caleb Banks too at Minnesota at 18.
yeah.
Um, but you're right
No, and
though about Love.
here's the thing. I liked some of their other picks. I liked the Basantis pick in the second round. I like Chase Basantis. Um, Caleb Proctor, the guy from southeastern Louisiana.
That might
I
be my
think,
favorite pick for them.
yeah, he's a big guy, and it's gonna take some adjusting for sure because he's from Southeast Louisiana.
Watch that LSU tape is all I gotta say.
But
Pairing him with Walter Nolan is gonna be pretty
and
good moving forward.
but to me, I just don't really feel like they got. I don't want to say they didn't get better because that wouldn't be true. I still think they're like one of the worst teams in the NFL, and I think they're going
Oh
to be.
yeah.
and they're going to tank and tank hard for one
See,
of the top guys. And Arch Manning might as well just get ready to start going to Glendale. Um, but it's the fact that they didn't really address the O line until what, the seventh round.
I mean, you got Basantis, like you said, in the second round with their
Oh
first pick.
yeah, the guard, but like
But they
tackle.
didn't address it enough. Yeah, they needed a right tackle. And I
Yeah,
will say this. I think that the Ty Simpson pick by the Rams really put a dent in their plans with how their
I think
draft
they
ended up
fully
going out.
expected them to go get Ty Simpson in the 20s,
Yeah,
and then the Rams going out and getting him at 13, which was a shock to everybody. Um, kind of yeah, I think it is. It's true. It did throw a wrench in their plans, but like I would have much rather seen a bunch of, especially at number 3. I would have much rather have seen Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, hell, even, and it wouldn't have happened. Hell, Caleb Downs at 3, opposite of next to Buda Baker, because Buda Baker's getting old and he might want out soon with this team. Um,
I would if I were him.
it's I think Love will be good, but now they got 3 running backs on their roster. We saw James Conner at the draft. He was opening packs.
He was opening packs.
And that's
He
probably
did
what his job's gonna be next year. But
he did not look
Tyler
happy,
dude,
that's for sure.
Tyler Algier once again has a back in front of him that Algier's gonna get all those 1-yard touchdowns, and then you have Jeremiah Love who's gonna be running the ball the rest of the time. Because
Yes,
that's how it worked in Atlanta and it's gonna how it works in Arizona. But they didn't get much better in my opinion. Like I said, I like the Basantis pick. Carson Beck, I mean, sure, why not? Like you needed to draft a quarterback
right,
because Jacoby Brissett's like pissed off at you. The Caleb Proctor pick, I didn't mind. I thought that was a decent one. Um, but they still need a lot of help, and I
for
don't think
sure.
they got a lot better.
I also I like the Reggie Virgil pick, the wide receiver out of Texas Tech. He was a guy who I was probably higher on than consensus. Coming from Miami of Ohio, transferred to Texas Tech was really their main wide receiver last year. Even though I think the Dolphins picked Caleb Douglas in the third round, which is one of my biggest, like, whoa, okay. He was not better than Reggie Virgil at Texas Tech. I do like that pick a lot for their wide receiver depth, actually. Um, but I think they had some decent picks, but they definitely could have done a lot better. I gave Arizona a C plus because I did like that fourth round with Caleb Proctor and Reggie Virgil. And with Jeremiah Love, he is going to be a potential Pro Bowl player regardless of whatever you grade it. Positional value matters in the draft. The money he is getting paid as a top 3 pick as a running back, I think he's guaranteed like $50 million.
Ooh boy,
It's something absurd,
as a running
something
back.
insane. Yes. So how much more can you really pay him after that? He's going to have to reset the running back market, it feels like, once he gets out of his first contract, depending on our projections of how good we think Jeremiah Love will be,
Yeah.
obviously. Um, the team that I thought did the absolute worst out of anybody was the Atlanta Falcons. They didn't have a lot to work with anyway. But I will say this, Avion Terrell, you got to pick him to pair him with his brother and AJ.
I think that's a decent
I
pick.
think that's a decent pick for sure. After that, I mean, Zachariah Branch, I thought there could have been other wide receivers that were available still at that point. They could have taken over Zachariah Branch. This does feel like a Kevin Stefanski wide receiver. This felt like a Anthony Schwartz, if you will. Like, this is the kind of wide receivers that I know Stefanski wants to work with, is a gadget wide receiver. The problem with Zachariah Branch, he was in my top 100 just because of the talent that he is
Harold
he's
Perkins. I
very
mean, hell, he
refined.
was like a people thought Harold Perkins was going to be a top 10 pick after his freshman year, and he just fell off. Maybe he can rekindle some of that. But yeah,
Maybe,
I
but
agree. I don't think the Falcons really didn't have much to work with, though. I think
they
they only
didn't.
had like 6 total picks in the draft.
They only had, yeah, you're right,
Um,
6 picks here, and their
but
last pick, they drafted Ethan
yeah,
Onianwa, a dude at Ohio State.
did they draft a starter? Is Avion Terrell going to be a starter next year?
Probably, maybe.
Is Zachariah Branch? Yeah, Branch will probably work his way in there.
He'll probably be
Now that
like
I
their
think about it,
slot wide
Kendall
receiver 3.
Daniels,
Antonio Thompson, maybe. I heard good things about
I don't
Antonio
know.
Thompson.
I'm not really high on the Falcons to begin with. I think they have some talent. I just don't really believe in Michael Penix Jr. So I really don't think
Oh,
it
but you
matters.
believe in Tua. Got it. For sure. Duly noted.
Oh my God. Heck no.
Duly noted, my friend. We do have to talk about the Rams, though, just a little bit. Of course, they had 5 picks only, so another team that didn't have a lot to work
More
with.
than they normally have. They normally only have like two.
I know, because they just never believe in it. They say F them picks all the time.
And it
Um,
works.
Now, I will put the caveat with them here. They lose the draft right now. Do they lose it in 4 or 5 years from now? That remains to be seen.
I've always said I don't believe that the Green Bay way can work outside of Green Bay. So I
But
think
it's
this
the
was an absolute
Rams.
waste of a draft pick. I think the Rams were stupid to take Ty Simpson at 13. If anything, you could have traded back with a team and gotten Ty Simpson there.
Unless they were really
Like,
worried a team like the Jets at 16 would have taken them.
no, I don't think so. I think the Jets are they're in on Geno. You know, they had AG already come out and say they think Geno's going to lead them to the promised land. The promised land being 3 and 14 and drafting, Arch Manning or Dante Moore next year, or Julian Sand, depending on how he does.
Knowing how last
Um,
year's draft is, in reality, it's going to be like a, let's see, what's a name? Drake Lindsay from Minnesota. He's the next one.
um, but I think this was stupid. Like, it's the fact that this is probably the highest you're going to pick for a good while. Um, and you can just draft another starter. You got two corners in Watson and
McDuffie.
McDuffie. Yeah, it was the two corners from Kansas City, and those are going to be you're going to be studs. You're going to be awesome. Your defense is going to be awesome next year. Your defense is going to be arguably the best in the league. Your offense is going to be really good too. You could take a wide receiver there because I don't really think Devontae Adams has more than 1 year left in him in LA.
Probably not.
Just because I think he's just on the decline. You know, you could do you take Makai Lemon there at 13? You could, and that could be a replacement. Offensive line is another thing. Like they could have taken Monroe Freeling or a Blake Miller or the guard from Penn State. Like they could have taken, but I know what they're trying to do. I just don't think it works outside of Green Bay. I really don't. I think in the times I watched Ty Simpson, he sucked. Like he just was bad. He had flashes of him being good, but when he was playing a good defense or when he was playing in a big game, he looked average. He looked like an average quarterback. Nothing special, nothing great. He's a pocket passer. That's what he's known for. He can run the ball sometimes when he needs to, but he's not fast. Um, and he's got a good touch on his ball. Like he's got a good throw. And I think he's a decent, accurately passer, but he's nothing special. He's not the 13th pick in this draft. And I think that the Rams should have easily went with something else. If anything, maybe you Drew Aller. Draft Drew Aller in the 3rd round for all I care.
Oh,
Draft a guy in the later rounds. I just don't
Cole
think Ty
Payton.
Simpson is the
Give me Cole
13th pick
Payton, baby. The Eagles got
because
their next future quarterback
you
in
can do
Cole
so
Payton.
many other things than taking Ty Simpson at 13. And I think that they could have easily drafted a wide receiver or an offensive lineman or even a tight end. I mean, like they got so many tight ends.
Yeah.
Draft Kenyon
The
Sadiq.
the two names that it appeared that it could have been if it wasn't Ty Simpson sounded like it was going to be either Makai Lemon or Kenyon Sadiq from what I heard
Yeah, that
that
would
they
have
were
been
debating
great. That would have
between.
been just draft a starter. Just draft now you
But
draft your backup quarterback. You don't know when he's going to start because you don't know when Matthew Stafford's going to retire. Is it going to be this year? Is it going to be next
see,
year? Is it going to be the year after that? I
here's the
think he's
thing.
got a max of 2 years left. I think Matthew Stafford's got 2 years left this year and then this upcoming year and then the next year after that. I think that's it. And Ty Simpson, if you want him to sit behind him for 2 years and then start when he's in his 3rd year and do what the Packers did, it's the Falcons tried doing the same thing and it didn't work. Like it's just and injuries got in the way because Kirk Cousins got hurt and then Michael Penix got hurt and it just didn't really work out. They were completely two opposite, styles. Kirk Cousins is a pocket passer and is a righty. And while I think Michael Penix can also be that, I think he's more balanced. Michael Penix can run the ball. He can, do play action. He can roll out. And he's a lefty. These two
Fair.
I can see the similarities with what they were trying to do. Both mainly pocket passers, can run when needed, but are going to stay in the pocket. Both rely on their eyes and rely on their touch on the ball, and both are accurate passers. Matthew Stafford, you know, one of the most accurate passers in football. Coming from a Lions fan, the dude made passes you never thought were possible. Especially, he made Patrick Mahomes cool because he did the original no look passes. And I don't want to hear about Mahomes
Yeah,
is no
yeah,
longer.
yeah.
Stafford was the original guy who did it, so I
Yeah,
don't want to hear
yeah.
all the other stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong,
Um,
but
I just think it was a waste of a pick, and I think that this is. I think that the Rams could have done so much more here. I think Makai Lemon or Kenyon Sadiq here and the Rams would have been perfect. That would have been the perfect roster. You would have had everything that you needed. Offensive line maybe would be the one little nitpick that I would have, depending on what they did. But man, this would have been the perfect roster, Super Bowl caliber as it already is. And this is the team to beat coming into next season. I do think that the Rams are one of those teams, the teams to beat. I think they're probably going to be my favorite to win the NFC and to possibly win the Super Bowl. Um, but they could have done so much more here, dude.
I agree.
They could have done. I hated the pick for the Rams.
The thing is, what I heard as well, they thought if they went another way,
Um,
not Spencer leaving me, his dog might be leaving some excrement yet again. I don't know. Is there excrement from the dogs again? There he is. He's back.
I
He's
said
quickly
close my
back.
door.
The Rams felt that possibly if they went a different direction, like a Makai Lemon, like a Kenyon Sadiq, because of their depth, they might not have been productive already next year on this team. So they went out and said, all right, this is the perfect time to just get our guy, let him build. And honestly, I'll say this. You might hate the pick for the Rams. I love the pick for Ty Simpson. I love the pick for Ty Simpson because he doesn't have to go out right away and start. He can develop under a guy like Matthew Stafford, learn the ways under him, under Sean McVay in that offense. If there is another organization that could do it the Green Bay way, it is the Los Angeles Rams, the way they are structured. Um, Now, of course, it's not the greatest pick right away. Of course, it's not going to be, something we talk about that's going to really matter in 26 or even possibly 27, but down the road, it could end up being a great pick for the Rams.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
the thing is, it already doesn't usually work out with quarterbacks who have under 20 starts in college. In fact, it's never worked out. But they've mostly gone and started pretty early on in their career. Ty Simpson here will probably be the difference, unless he's forced in if Stafford's injured or whatnot. Other than that, he's not going to be playing for probably 2 seasons at least.
yep,
And so him developing could be the greatest thing for him. Um, I mean, yeah, outside of that, the Rams didn't necessarily do anything I really loved either. Max Claire's a decent tight end. They did get in the second round. I mean, was he really worth a second round pick? I don't know, but the draft showed you that they really valued the tight end position. We had 22 tight
yeah,
ends drafted.
yeah,
The NFL is moving to 13 personnel. A lot of teams are. They just are because the tight ends right now are a hot commodity the way offensive systems are schemed up right now and designed. So teams are wanting that tight end. I
yeah.
know a team I could really question is the Jacksonville Jaguars and the way they drafted. They really went the
Their
49ers
GM,
and
seeing
Rams
James
route.
Gladstone, this thinks that they like had the draft of the century.
He's also from the Rams tree though. So they don't care and go get the guys they want regardless of how you think about them themselves.
Yeah,
Getting Nate Borkature, the A&M tight end, he was probably a fourth or a fifth round tight end, and they got him in the second. You saw the Houston Texans draft Marlon Klein in the second round. Marlon
Michigan
Klein,
fans are shocked at that.
Michigan fans are shocked. I was probably higher on him than Michigan fans were, but I still didn't think he was a second round tight end. I thought he was a late third, early fourth round tight end. Max Clare made some sense, I guess, in the second round more than anybody else because of his Purdue tape, not necessarily his Ohio State tape.
Yeah,
Um, I like that pick. Did they really need another tight end though? They have like 5 on their roster. That's the
no,
problem. They didn't really need another tight end. Wide receiver. I mean, I know you're going to be losing Devontae Adams, and what's going on with Puka? Is he going to continue this Antonio Brown arc off the field or not? Or will he? I know he went into rehab and everything to try and just get himself right, and we're not going to talk about that any further. But get yourself right, Puka. That's all we got to say. But Puka is one of the best in the business right now, if not the best in the business. So time will tell at the wide receiver
Mhm.
room if they could have used a guy like a Makai Lemon, who would have made sense the way he is as a wide receiver. The problem is they're like, we have Puka. Why would we get a guy who's practically Puka? That's the thing with
I
Makai
have one
Lemon.
people when you have two.
It's a good way of putting it there. That's fair. That's fair. I didn't think about it that way. Um, but I think the Ty Simpson pick, it's not great right now. Like I said, down the road, time will tell.
Better hope this thing pans out. I'll tell you that.
And just like that, you guys should subscribe to the channel. Okay, you should
Yeah.
hit that little square because I know you're watching in full screen right now. You should pan out, go hit that subscribe button. You should hit that push notification bell to stay up to date on all of our new videos that we have coming out to you. Should follow us on our Instagram, our TikTok page, our Twitter. That's been kind of silent recently. We need to get back on that Twitter page at Ball N Beatz Media. So go follow us everywhere. Go like the YouTube shorts. Go like the IG reels. Go like the TikToks, please.
Thanks.
Please.
Please do. All the love helps.
College football, baby. College football. Our official power ratings are starting this week for conferences, Spence.
Yep.
And we're starting off with obviously some would argue the
Conference
conference,
USA.
the conference of all time in Conference USA. See, if you're really a college football stan, you have to do all conferences. And we're starting off with our G5 conferences here. We're saving the best G5 conference for last once we get to it. We already know what that one is. But Conference USA here. Last year, out of Conference USA, you had the Jacksonville State Gamecocks fleece everybody yet again. The Kennesaw State Owls did pretty good with Jerry Mack
Yeah.
and Amari Odom last season. You had some other teams kind of suck, which is Conference USA, but you had programs like Missouri State come in right away and did really well, but they do lose Ryan Beard and a lot of his players from Missouri State heading into next season. How good will Missouri State really be? I know some people are still pretty high on them. Um, so, Spencer, we're going to start off from our bottom, work our way to the top. Who do you
Okay.
have at number 10? You got to remember Louisiana Tech, no longer in conference. UTEP, no longer in conference.
I have the Sam Houston State Bearcats.
Okay.
They went 2-10 last year, and they had a rough year. And they have a lot of teams. They play at Jacksonville State, at Liberty, at Texas Tech, at Troy, and Tulsa. I think that they're going to lose all those games. FIU, Kennesaw State, Middle Tennessee, Missouri State, New Mexico State are all games. Maybe they could win a couple, but I think they go like 3-9. So I'm going to go Sam Houston at in last.
I gotcha. I am a little bit higher on Sam Houston heading into next season. Phil Longo wasn't pretty. Wasn't pretty last season. Like you said, they went 2-10. Um, but I feel a little bit confident, a little more confident in their offense for next season. That was really one of their big points was their offense wasn't that great. But their defense wasn't that great either. Nothing was really great at Sam Houston last season.
Yeah.
But I'm a little bit higher on them than some other programs. For me, at number 10, I have New Mexico State heading into the year because with New Mexico State, they lost everybody, and they kind of always do. Um, and they've got it rough. They've got it rough. They tend to always have it rough in Las Cruces, New Mexico. So I'm putting New Mexico State at number 10 heading into next year. Number 9, Spence.
New Mexico State for all the reasons you just listed.
There you go.
I think they're going to suck, and they're going to suck hard next year.
Oh yes, I
It's
can't.
going to be a rough year for the Aggies.
I don't see a world where they're not at least anywhere from 8 to 10 when it's all
I'll
said and done.
say I'll say 3-9, but I'll say they beat Sam Houston. So I'll say they're just above the
That's
Bearcats.
fair. That's fair. Number 9 for me. I know a lot of people probably will disagree with this take. I'm a little bold with this take because in a conference like Conference USA, like the Mountain West, like the MAC, you could have a team be real good one year and then next year just kind of completely go off the grid. I think this team has that potential. I'm going Kennesaw State as my ninth overall team in conference because, yeah, they still have Jerry Mack. He might be the man at coach and will probably eventually be somewhere else much bigger than Kennesaw State. But losing Amari Odom to Syracuse in the transfer portal, I think will do a lot more damage to this team possibly. And I'm gonna throw it out there. I could be completely wrong on Kennesaw State. There's just other teams that I like a little bit more heading into next year right now. And I'm putting Kennesaw State as my second to last team in Conference USA.
I think that's a little harsh because I do think Jerry Mack's a really good coach, and like you said, I think that he's going to build that program a little more. I think that depending on what happens this year, this might be his last year with the Owls. Um,
Possibly.
but like I said, I don't think they'll be as good as last year with losing Mariota. But I think that they'll at least make a bowl game, like a 6-6 type record, maybe 7-5. Um, but we'll see. At number 8, I have Middle Tennessee State
Okay.
at 3-9. Um, they've gone 3-9 in 2024 and in 2025. We're gonna say they were gonna go 3-9 again in 2026.
That's the Derek Mason
We're
way.
we are going to keep the train rolling, and we're gonna say 3-9. We're gonna have a bunch of 3-9 teams at the bottom. So
You had Middle Tennessee at 8. I also have Middle Tennessee at 8. Um, there's a world where I could see them being better. It's just very hard to see that happening. In fact,
yeah,
I know most people probably circle Middle Tennessee as a bottom 2 team heading into next year. And originally, I was a little bit higher on this team, and I kind of fell a little bit back down to earth while doing my research on Middle Tennessee because they lost a lot. They lost a ton. Not a fan. Not a fan of what they have coming in next year. And you just can't really trust Derek Mason, you know? I mean, he's been around the block as a head coach multiple times. It's never, ever really worked out anywhere he's been long term. This really could be the make or break year for him in Murfreesboro. And so I'm going to be a little more cautious and put him at 8. I thought about putting him higher. They could easily finish dead last. This is one I'm probably least confident in, at least at them being at 8, because I could see them being as high as 5 just because it's Middle Tennessee, or they could finish dead last and go 0-12 next season. So we'll have to see from the Blue Raiders.
at number 7, I have Missouri State. I think that they're gonna be a little better than what you think, but I do think they're going to have a rough year. Like I said, they lost their head coach, they lost a lot of their players. They're still, last year they went 7-5 their first year in Division One, and they, for their first year in
Pretty
Division One,
impressive.
7-5 is really good. But I think that they're going to have a rough patch with losing the head coach, losing their players. And I think it's going to be more of a rebuilding year this year, trying to get things back in business there.
I agree with you.
They're in
We have the
Columbia,
same
Missouri.
Springfield, Missouri.
Springfield. Yep,
Springfield.
wrong one. Wrong
Not,
one. Yep.
you're talking about Como.
Columbia.
Como is the Missouri Tigers, my friend.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Missouri State, I agree. You and I both have the same number 7 and number 8. Their new head coach, Casey Woods, coming in, who's from SMU and really helped develop Kevin Jennings into what he's become down there at Southern Methodist. Um, I know some people might be a little bit higher on Missouri State because they believe in Casey Woods. I believe in Casey Woods long term. I don't know how it'll be in year 1 necessarily after losing everybody practically from last year's team with Ryan Beard going to Coastal Carolina this offseason. So it's more of a cautious 7 with Missouri State. I do think they can be higher on this list, though, for sure.
At number 6, I have the Delaware Blue Hens. I
Ooh,
know somebody in this podcast is very high on the Delaware Blue Hens
okay.
this year. I think that their quarterback play was very good last year. I just have other teams that I think are going to be better than them. It's pretty much the only reason why. I still think that they'll make a bowl game, though. I think they go 6-6.
Look at that. We're going to have more than half the teams in Conference USA make a bowl game this year. That's pretty good. That's
Let's
pretty
go.
good.
Let's go.
Honestly, I think you're probably right about that, to be honest.
Going to be a lot of
Um,
7-5, 8-4, and 6-6, and then a couple 3-9s.
okay, so at number 6, I have Sam Houston. I don't know what it is about this year. I'm a little bit higher on Sam Houston than most people probably are because I think Phil Longo might turn it around this coming year. Yeah, their schedule's always tough. It's pretty brutal down there in Sam Houston, but there's just something about this conference that makes it a little bit unpredictable, and this is maybe a little bit of one of my unpredictable predictions, if you will, having Sam Houston be a little bit more of a middle of the pack team and not necessarily a bottom feeder. So I'm going with Sam Houston to be a little bit better heading into next season.
At number 5, I have the Florida International University Panthers down there in
Okay.
Bull Stadium.
All right.
They went 7-5 last year. Made a bowl game, had a really good year. And I think that they're going to continue that. I think that they're going to go 6-6.
At number 5 for me, I have the Liberty Flames. Liberty, the last couple years, has been on that downward trajectory. They were 4-8 last season. It was not pretty football. Since Jamie Chadwell's gotten there, they've kind of started to taper off a little bit from where they had been when they had Slater there at quarterback. They had it was a good run Liberty was on for a good solid 4 years when they made their jump up to FBS football. Um, Now next year they've got a little bit. They could be good. I just doubt it a little bit here because quarterback wise, you're talking Deshaun Purdy from Wake Forest is transferring in. You have Jalen Henderson coming in from West Virginia. You still have Ryan Berger, but Ethan Vasco, who was the starting quarterback last year, he had more turnovers than touchdowns, which scares me. If he's the actual starting quarterback next year, I don't think he will be. It'll probably be in between Purdy and Henderson if I had to guess right now heading into this season. Um, if quarterback play is better at Liberty, they could be a little bit higher. That's why I was putting them here right in the middle at number 5. But I think a lot of people sometimes elevate them because of how good they have been and not necessarily the team that they currently have. So I'm putting them at 5.
Okay. At number 4, I have the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. Jacksonville State has gone 8-4 the past 2 years. Their schedule this year is I mean, they don't have they have at North Dakota State, but what they don't have like a big name game that they have
No.
to go to, and I think that's going to be the big thing that's going to help them out. With some of these Conference USA teams, they have these 100% for sure losses that I think is holding them back. Like Delaware plays at Vanderbilt and at Virginia. That's 2 losses right off the bat, and I think that's going to hurt them. But I do believe that Jacksonville State, they've been pretty consistent and they've done pretty well since moving to Conference USA. So I'm going to say Jacksonville State, 7-5. All these teams are going to be about the same because they normally are. You're not going to have an undefeated Conference USA team.
Well, I can tell
We're
you
not
this.
going to have.
I can tell you number 4 for me, the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers will definitely not be undefeated, having to go to Athens, Georgia, and Bloomington, Indiana, out of conference.
No.
Um, Here with Western Kentucky at 4. Now, I will say this: they've been the most consistent program the last 8 years or so since Tyson Helton's really been their head coach. They've really found a groove there as a school. I it's kind of hard because I just feel higher on the 3 programs I have ahead of them right now, but they're always consistently up there. They're always in that top 4. I could put them higher if I really wanted to. I like the other 3 ahead of them right now a little bit more. Western Kentucky could easily win the Conference USA though. 100%. That's not out of the question.
Yeah. Number 3, I have Liberty. Liberty Bibberty. Their toughest game is going to be at James Madison, which I think is actually going to be a fun game. I think Liberty at JMU could be a fun
That
game
should
to
be a
watch out for.
rivalry game. Let's be
They
honest
did
here.
go 4-8 last year, and I know with Jamie Chadwell, they're supposed to be good in that year, year in and year out. In 24, they went 8-3. It all depends. I think Liberty's going to get back to being that one of those teams to beat in Conference USA that we're used to where they normally are hovering around 8, 9, 10 wins in a season with only a couple losses, and being that Conference USA team to beat. I have teams that I think are better than them, but I do think Liberty, I do trust Jamie Chadwell to kind of get them back on track. I do think this is a big year for them though, since they did have a down year going 4-8 last year. But I have some faith in them to get back on track and in Liberty, you have to have faith because there's a lot of faith in Liberty.
There is a lot of faith at Liberty for sure.
Yeah.
Number 3 for me, you're not as high on this program as I am, but they were really good last year. I know they're losing a lot of talent heading into this season. They're starting quarterback and they're starting running back, but they're replacing their guys and they still have a lot of pieces, and I trust this head coach. Number 3 is the Florida International Panthers down there at Pit Bull Stadium for me. Yes, Kewan Jenkins hit the transfer portal. They're starting quarterback, and Kajan Owens, they're starting running back, but they're replacing him with J.J. Cole, who started at Appalachian State in his past. I think he'll be a very solid quarterback for them heading into next season. A good amount of their starters, like their main wide receiver and Alex Perry, is not back, but they still have a good amount of wide receiver depth coming into this year. They're losing their top tight end as well, but they still have pretty good depth there. I think FIU is really in consideration to win the conference next season. Their head coach, Willie Simmons, is a guy to really circle for some future job upgrades. I can say this knowing personally he was involved in the Toledo search. He obviously is not Toledo's head coach, but he was one of the guys Toledo circled as a guy to
Mhm.
interview. So Willie Simmons is a guy to really pay attention to the next couple years in getting those job upgrades at either a bigger program at a bigger G5 school or even a potential Power 4 school moving forward. FIU's got a really good head coach down there in Willie Simmons.
Right. Number two, a team that I'm higher on than you. Kennesaw State. You
Whew,
had Kennesaw State at
9.
what was it?
I had him at
9?
9.
I think the Owls are gonna be really good. I really like what they're building down there. They went 9-3 last year in their first year in Conference USA. They were predicted to be really bad, and I know that they're losing Amari Odom, but I fully trust what this coaching staff is doing down there, and it's not like this is a really, top tier, tough conference. I do think that you can come in and win this conference. Kennesaw State, did that. So I believe that the Owls are going to have a really good year this year, and I'll say they go like 8-4.
Number 2 for me is the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. You just have to trust what they're doing down there in Jacksonville, Alabama. They've also been pretty consistent since they've come up to the FBS level, and they've been towards the top of this conference year in and year out. Gavin Wimsatt, no longer there, but they do have Caden Creel, who had some starting time at quarterback last year as well, who will more than likely be their full-time starter in 2026. You just have to trust the game. You just have to trust Cox, man. You just have to trust the Cox. The Cox always get it done every time.
Number one, the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. The Toppers are going to top Conference USA once again, and they are going to win Conference USA, and they're going to make the college football one.
They're gonna make the college
No, they're
football
not.
playoff at 8-4 as a or
The
9-4
eight
as a
and
conference
four,
champion.
8-4, 9-4. No, I think Western Kentucky. They've gone 8-4 the past couple years. They've been right on the verge of winning it, the conference the last couple years, and I fully believe them. They do have a tough out of conference schedule with that Georgia at Indiana, but that's 2 out of their 4 losses that they will probably have this year. They also play at Nevada, which could be a tough game. But I think that they'll go like I think that they will run through Conference USA. I think that the toppers are going to top the conference, as we could say. So give me Western Kentucky from Bowling Green.
Number 1, a team that you had as your, I think, number 6 team overall in conference. The real winged helmets, as some would say. The Delaware Blue Hens. Now, I know the jokes about their quarterback, okay? I understand the jokes that'll be said, but let's be honest here. Nick Minicucci is
Mini
the best.
Coochie.
He is the best quarterback in this conference. It's not close, actually. He's the best returning quarterback in this conference. They have the best quarterback heading into 2026. They're returning practically everybody heading into next season. Everybody, all their starting wide receivers are pretty much back. Their starting running backs are pretty much back. Starting offensive line's pretty much back. Defense is pretty much back. The Delaware Blue Hens are set up for success next year, and their out of conference schedule isn't terrible, I would say. They host Merrimack week 1. They do play at Vanderbilt week 2.
At
Will
Virginia.
Jared Curtis be as their starting quarterback more than likely at Vanderbilt? How good will Vandy be next year? Time will tell with Clark Lee and them. They host Coastal Carolina at Delaware. Coastal Carolina last year wasn't all that great, but it is year one
They
under
play
Ryan
at
Beard next
Western
year.
Kentucky.
They play at Virginia. Yeah, I do kind of like where Virginia is right now, so that's probably a loss. But they host Liberty, they host Missouri State, they host FIU, they host Jacksonville State. You're right though; they do go to Western Kentucky. We might have to go to that game next year, by the way. At Middle
Delaware
Tennessee,
versus Western Kentucky. Yeah,
at Kennesaw State. I think that's a pretty reasonable schedule for Delaware with what they have returning next year. There's no reason why Delaware shouldn't be considered at least a top 3 team in the conference, let alone the fact that they have the best quarterback in this conference. That to me immediately elevates them up to being number 1. He had 23 touchdowns and 7 interceptions last season. He's been the most productive guy, and the fact that he's back, we're riding with the Blue Hens all day in Conference USA.
I think you're a little crazy, but it's okay.
I'm crazy? How am
Mhm.
I crazy for saying Delaware's the number 1 team in the conference heading into next year? Please
Hey
tell
man,
me.
because the most consistent team of all is going to win it this year. The Western Kentucky Hilltoppers.
I put them in the top 4. I said they could easily do it because they're always up there. Jacksonville State's been the most consistent outside of them recently too, since they've joined, and they've only been here 4 years in FBS level now, 3 or 4 years. They've been towards the top every single year. It feels like. But FIU is one to circle. But
I do like the Panthers for next year. Yeah,
but none of it really matters because the Delaware Blue Hens, they're the real team that's going to win the conference and make the college football playoff. No, I'm just kidding. They're really not though.
they're going to make the
But
college football playoff.
they're not. But the Blue Hens should be the favorites for Conference USA. That
Nah.
wraps up.
Western Kentucky beat them last year. They'll beat them again.
It's not going to happen. I promise you that.
They beat them in Delaware. It was Delaware's first. It was their first ever Conference USA game, I believe, and the Toppers came in there and took care of business like they normally do. So
I think you're right, but they won't. They won't this year. They will not this year in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That is not happening. Delaware is coming to southwestern Kentucky to absolutely destroy the Hilltoppers. In fact, that's the one game I will guarantee. October 27th on a Tuesday night, the Blue Hens will beat the Hilltoppers. I can promise you that. That's going to wrap up this episode here of the Scoop and Score Football Show, episode 30. Thank you guys for staying in and tuned into us this long. But before you do leave, hit that subscribe button, please.
Yep,
Please hit that subscribe button. It
show all
helps
the love
support
you
us.
can. We appreciate anything.
It helps support us. Make sure you go follow Ball N Beatz Media on all of our social media channels, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter at Ball N Beatz Media. Go follow Spencer and DM him how crazy he is for thinking the Hilltoppers will win Conference USA. His Instagram caption is somewhere underneath here, and if it isn't, I can guarantee you can search it on whatever search engine you want to. Outside of that, the Browns had the best draft, and they will win Super Bowl 62 because they won't get 61 done yet. But 62, it'll happen.
Who's going to be the quarterback?
Probably me, to be honest. I bet I could probably do better than Connor Shaw ever could back then, or a Cody Kessler, or it could be Deshaun Watson. Yay! Deshaun
there we go.
Watson.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Redemption tour from Deshaun Watson just to give him another 5-year deal. Let's get it.
No show more than likely next week because I will be working with the Mid-American Conference on something, but we should be returning the previous week after that. That made no sense. That'd be next week. We will see you guys then. All right? Take care and peace out.